Hello and welcome to Quarterlight, your car brochure channel. In today's episode, we're going to start a new series in this 1980 Opel range, starting with the Opel Kadett D. Hello, welcome back to Quarterlight, your car brochure channel. If you're new to the channel, we look at car brochures from around the world, so if you think that might interest you, consider subscribing. It does help the channel. Anyway, like I say, we're going to look at this 1980s Opel brochure in a series form. So we're going to start with the Opel Kadett D. Think Vauxhall Astra Mark 1. The main difference really with the Opel Kadett, it came out earlier. And this is indeed a UK brochure. So think Opel Kadett being sold at one dealership next to the Vauxhall Astra that hasn't actually arrived yet, interestingly. Anyway, it'll make a bit more sense when we look at the brochure, so let's straight away jump straight into that. So here is today's brochure. Quite a striking brochure. I do quite like the Opel badge. I don't know, do you prefer the Vauxhall badge or the Opel badge? It does look quite striking, I think. Reliability comes as standard. Tells us straight away what models we will be looking at in the series. The Kadett, the Ascona, Manta, Record, Senator, and that big Monza. So it is a really nice brochure to look at. The date of this brochure is actually March 1980, so it is a nice early one. Incidentally, I think it was April before the Astra was even launched. But let's look inside that brochure now and have a look at how it kind of like differed from that Astra Mark 1. So here is it, the first page. Instead of doing an overview of Opel, it jumps straight in to show the Opel Kadett. Let's have a bit of a zoom in on that and let's talk a little bit about the Opel Kadett. So interestingly, the Opel Kadett was sold in the UK, but the difference really was it went on sale in November 79, 5 months before the Astra Mark 1, which came out around about April 1980. So interestingly, consumers got a chance to purchase this before the Vauxhall Astra, which was a little bit unusual. Like I said, the date of this brochure is March 80, so like I say, the brochure itself is even earlier than a Vauxhall Astra, and it was a strange time between Opel and Vauxhall. Initially, they was actually separately marketed in the UK with kind of like overlapping lineups. This is a kind of like example of an overlapping lineup, selling an Opel Kadett, and then when the Astra arrives, selling basically the identical vehicle marketed by two different people, which was kind of like weird. Really didn't make any sense whatsoever, although obviously when the Vauxhall arrived, I think people in the UK were more familiar with the Vauxhall badge and obviously chose that ahead. I would imagine the Opel Kadett, a UK sold Opel Kadett at this time, March 80 or earlier, even 79, 79 Opel Kadett. Can you imagine if anyone had one of them in the UK? It would be a pretty rare car today for sure. Interestingly, by about 1982, I do apologise, this kind of like weird system was kind of like sorted out. The Opel lineup got limited to things like the Manta, for example, and then Vauxhall became the main marketeer, and you could just get it as an Astra, which makes far more sense, and the Kadett being sold in the rest of Europe and Ireland, so that kind of like cleared that confusion up. But what a weird system. I don't know why they didn't do that from the start. And next, I've just thrown this edition. We've kind of like looked at this brochure review quite recently, haven't we? From 1981, showing the Vauxhall badged Astra next to the Opel Kadett D. Really, the only real difference externally was this grille. Vauxhall went for this just chrome on the top and the bottom, and the Vauxhall badge in the centre. Opel went for the big Opel badge and this extra little bit of a chrome line and chrome down the side. Well, you can actually see on the grille there, it's the same grille essentially, it's the same, that kind of like honeycomb type grille. You can almost see where that chrome line was put on the Opel, but like I said, that was really the only obviously noticeable difference looking at it from the front, although the Kadett had a better lineup, interestingly, which we'll certainly have a look at. Okay, so this is our main page for the Kadett hatch and saloon, like the Astra. Very practical hatchback and very not very practical saloon that looked like a hatchback, which was a very strange model. Tended to be very low spec ones with this boot. We'll certainly have a look at some of these pictures and images, but we'll certainly look at this text because, like I said, the range is different to what the Astra was. There was kind of like more variety actually in your Kadett at this early time than your Astra. So it starts telling us the new Kadett gives you plenty to enjoy. It kind of like rambles on, but what I'm more interested in is the model availability at this time, which is really what it's all about. So it says at the start here, it says for 2-star economy choose a 3 or 5-door LS hatch. So that wasn't the base model actually, the L was the base model, and that, you know, you couldn't get it as a hatch. I think that's why it's explaining it like that. Both of which have a 60 bhp version of our new 1.3 litre OHC engine and a value for money specification that includes front seat head restraints, which was nice, wasn't it, so early on, late 70s, early 80s. And a hidden glove box and 4-spoke foam rimmed steering wheel. For more performance and luxury, there's a 75 bhp 5-door GL with wide sports wheels, a cigar lighter, quartz clock, rear window wash wipe and plenty more. Now this is where we get kind of extra models. It says while the sumptuous 5-door Berliner offers velour upholstery, alloy wheels, tinted glass and high pressure headlamp washers amongst many other things. So that was nice to get in your Astra Kadett, wasn't it? If you prefer a traditional saloon with a separate boot, you'll find it in the new Kadett range. Like the hatchbacks, it has plenty of room, including a 14.4 cubic foot boot, and offers plenty of choice. You can take your pick from 2 or 4-door body styles, available as either a 60 bhp LS or L, which despite its premium price has cloth upholstery, reclining front seats and of course German engineering. And there are also 4-door GL and Berliner versions. Finally, the 2-door 75 bhp Kadett SR had been designed with the enthusiasts very much in mind. I'm presuming this is the SR, pictured in this very sort of small little picture in yellow. Like I said, this is a terrible little tiny picture of the SR. It's a shame they didn't put a big picture in there, so it's kind of like hard to really focus in very nicely on that, but gives us an idea of what that was. And like I said, there weren't no SRs in your Astra range when that was came out, 5 months later than the launch of the Kadett in the UK. So really the Kadett had more to offer, so you can imagine how it stole some of the Astra sales early on. Like I say, kind of like competing against each other, which made no sense, and they ironed that all out around about 82, I think. So this is the inside of your Kadett. Very similar to what your Astra, your first generation Astra was really. Unfortunately, unlike the Vauxhall Astra Mark 1 brochure, it doesn't actually tell you which models these pictures actually are associated with, but it gives you an idea between the hatch and the saloon. Hatchback, obviously a far more practical vehicle. I'm not really sure who this saloon was really aimed at, because it didn't look like a saloon, so it wasn't really aimed at the more traditional buyer, so that was always a bit of a strange one to me. And here is the main image for the Kadett hatch, and this lovely sort of scene where they've come and parked on some grass. A little bit weird, as these car brushes all are, but you can see they're ready for a bit of a picnic. Nothing unpacked, but somehow they've managed to get a cup of tea from somewhere. I don't know where. And I guess these in the back having a little nice picture. 5 of them have cramped in there, so they look happier than they probably were when they was driving around in their Kadett. And yes, like the Astra, you could get it as a very practical estate car. We'll pick a little bit about this and the text, but we won't read much of it. The main thing we'll kind of like concentrate on these pictures, I think. Okay, so it introduces the estate by saying, don't be fooled by the new Kadett estate's appearance. Despite its compact size, which makes it so handy in city traffic, and its good looks, it's a really practical workhorse. And yeah, I always found these small estates, which are kind of like dying out really, aren't they? I know certainly in North America small estates don't appear anymore, and certainly SUVs are taking over in Europe, but I always quite like these small estates because they were practical vehicles without being huge monstrous vehicles. It tells us here you can choose your Kadett estate that exactly suits your needs. So it says there's a 3-door version available as an L or LS. 3-door estates I've never really understood, I must admit. Alternative, you can opt for a 5-door body, either LS or 75 bhp GL. Here is the interior of that, and I guess I may as well throw a picture in of the Astra. See if I can do something side by side. If I can manage to clear that up a little bit. There we go. So you can see the interiors were identical on the Opel version and the Vauxhall version. The difference really being, Vauxhall badge, Opel badge, because even the steering wheels were exactly the same. We get this unusual picture of them loading this sort of like cot type thing into the back, I guess demonstrating that flat load space. Headlight picture for whatever reason, and obviously we also get a very tiny picture of the 3-door. Like I said, I never really understood the idea of 3-door estates, and the more practical 5-door in gold, I guess before they put that cot in there. So here is the specifications for the Opel Kadett D early on. So you can get it as an L, an LS, both as with a boot, a hatch or an estate by the looks of it, a GL, a Berliner and an SR. Compare that to the Astra when it was launched, it only had the E, L and GL, so much more limited range for the Astra. I'm not going to go through all this specifications, but you can certainly pause the screen if you really do want to have a look at it, showing it all as a 4-speed manual. And an idea of what tyres they used. You can certainly see that larger tyre on the far right for the SR model. Body, the different bodies you could get. The SR only in a 2-door by the looks of it. 2-door saloon. So that wasn't unusual, wasn't it? The SR as a 2-door saloon, because like I said, when I'm thinking about that booted version, I'm always kind of like thinking of like the base models, but there you could get it as a 2-door saloon SR. A bit of gross weights, trailer weights if you're really interested in some dimensions. So not the most detailed specifications in this particular brochure. I do have a price list though, so we'll have a look at that. So here is the price list for the Kadett with a nice little image of both, I'm presuming a hatch and a estate. Prices, your most basic one, a 2-door L saloon, was £3,500 and 80 pence. Your most expensive model, let's have a look at that now. There's a little bit of a mark on there, isn't there? So I'm just trying to, oh no, yeah, so your most expensive model there would have been £5,086.74 for a 5-door Berliner hatch. A little bit cheaper actually for the SR, I guess because it's just a 2-door with a boot. £4,893.63. And here is some of the factory fitted options you could get and the prices by the side of it. So, the cheapest option you could get lockable petrol cap. Weird that you had to pay for that. £9.03. Most expensive factory fitted option would have been a sliding steel sunroof, £199.33. Although you couldn't get that on the estate model. It shows you the equipment levels strangely in the price list. So, the models there, the L's, the LS's, the GL's, B for Berliner and SR. Kind of showing you your sports steering wheel from LS up. Light metal wheels on the Berliner and SR. So not alloys but light metal. Kind of weird. Rev counter on the Berliner and SR. And it looks like Recaro seats you actually got on that SR, which is rather nice, isn't it? It also shows some of the luxury features as it describes it as. Things like a headlamp high pressure washer on the Berliners, rear window wash wipe, not on the SR because that was really a booted version. And the comfort options down there at the end as well. Rear head restraints actually, strangely, on the top 3 models, so the Berliner and the SR had rear head restraints as well. Tinted glass on the Berliner. So the Berliner was really the luxury one. SR was kind of the sporty model. I'd kind of like zooming on this. I don't know who would ever need to know this, but why not? You never know. It says here 1980 models are identified by the 3rd digit of the chassis number being 0. Bit of unusual information to give in the price list there, but certainly a nice little thing if you wanted to identify your 1980 model. Rather interesting, looks like a bit of a note they've had to stick on there to change one of the prices there. The Kadett 33L should read 35L and is £3,607.93. And finally, this is your brochure dated March 1980. And the little Opel GM badge at the end there. Remember, the later Vauxhall Opel had the Vauxhall badge on there as well, didn't they? Well, this is actually the Mark 1 Vauxhall Astra. It does have the Opel badge on there. Interesting. So there we go. That is the Opel Kadett D, the Vauxhall Astra's sister. If you do remember these Opel badged Kadetts in the UK, please do jot that in the comments. It is interesting. It's a kind of a weird time for Vauxhall Opel. Next week we'll continue our story with the Opel Ascona. Thank you so much for watching once again. Please do like and subscribe. That helps greatly. We'll see you very soon. Take care and goodbye.